Will be mainly clear, very warm and humid with a low of 77. Tomorrow, Wednesday, expect very hot and humid conditions with hazy sunshine. It'll be breezy in the afternoon. The high will reach 97 degrees. Wednesday night will be clear, very warm and humid with a low of 78. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all guns. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white,
my next guest isn't just one of the good guys. He's the captain on the good guy team, and he always has been. Chief Justice, Judge, Prosecutor, and a congressman from 2005 to 2023, which means he was there during the Obama years. He's dealt with terrible, terrible decisions of both his fellow congressmen, senators, presidents, and Supreme Court justices. Louie Gohmert, how are you?
Well, thank you, Shaun. That's a great introduction. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. But as far as I know, I'm doing fine. The country's in a big mess right now. Thank God we have President Trump. The way I see it, that was God giving us another chance to say this little experiment in self-government. But this one decision today, it really does create a hardship for continuing it. Well, but thanks for having me on.
I love having you on. In fact, it was funny. I thought about you last week, and I don't tell my producer who to get. She gets them and surprises me, which I love. But I thought about you last week because this is the time when you need to understand the way that the system works is both beautiful and tragic at the same time, right? This compartmentalized federalism, whether it's a layer cake or a marble cake or whatever the hell it is. But most Americans don't realize how Caligula, for nerds, which is what I think Washington, D.C. is, and the Capitol and the Senate, they don't understand how systemically corrupted it is.
What a metaphor.
Well, I mean, it really is. They're systemically corrupted. And like in Chicago, I realized this. We were governed by our lessers in every case, just scoundrels and scallywags who never really want to go back to their home districts. And why would they? Their wife lives there or their husband. So what you have is a system that's sequestered from reality. The problem that's the problem. The beauty is, in all of this turmoil, Kamala Harris, or as she's known on my show, Willie Brown's Hornswoggler, she only won 396 counties out of 3,143. The vast majority of people in this country that are legal and are registered Americans are fantastic people who reject this kind of mafia control.
That's such a great observation.
I believe they're a minority, a true minority. And the beauty of the layer cake or marble cake or whatever the hell you want to call it is that there are good people in these states, like you and yours, like Ron DeSantis and mine, and all the other states that make up the good American people. They will enforce the law. Now, my question to you is, Ron DeSantis comes out, he hears the case, he doesn't read the judgment, he says, well, we're going to enforce the immigration law as we already have. Can states deport? Or can only the federal government deport?
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever your position, the Supreme Court came out previously in years past and said that the states cannot enforce immigration law, that has to be the federal government. And that was, you recall, back when Arizona was trying to do just that, and the sheriff there was trying to do that. And
Ohio,
that was completely anathema to what's gone on in the past because, we had always had local law enforcement and state law enforcement work with the federal government in helping enforce immigration laws. So that really flew in the face of what had gone on for maybe centuries, but certainly many decades. It worked together. So that was a terrible decision. But anyway, it's going to take another run, I think, at the Supreme Court, but I doubt they'll take up another case about the birthright tourism. This decision, the state will not have authority to grant passports and things like that, and the majority opinion just acts like, well, yeah, this has always been the case ever since the 14th Amendment. It's been made clear. And they cite this one case from, the late 1800s. And it takes Clarence Thomas and Alito, and I've just been going through. Clarence Thomas has a 91
I saw.
page.
I saw it. He had a lot of time, a lot of aggravation. Yes.
Yeah, he did, and I love it. And I love Clarence Thomas, and I love Alito, and they are so clear, plain spoken. But the majority opinion, Roberts, he takes a slam at them and says, they're not being realistic about this, but it will be the federal government that hands out the passports. That's what's been happening. But actually, Shaun, while I was in Congress, we were trying to find out, okay, when did the State Department start giving out passports to people born here to illegal aliens? And we were able to ask the Congressional Research Service, hey, do research on this and give us a report. And they couldn't establish a time when they actually started giving passports to people born here to illegal aliens. There was never an executive order they could find. There was never a law passed by Congress, and they just referred to this one case from the late 1800s. But nothing started happening then. And as Alito points out, it really wasn't until after the 1940s that this view kind of started working its way in. But we still can't find out an exact time when it started happening. And so the supposition was that at some point, somebody in the State Department said, you know what, it's just too hard to track down parents to see whether or not they were a citizen, whether they met the requirements. Well, let's just start giving a passport to anybody that's born in the U.S. That's the best we could find out.
Oh, Louie, I'll take $10.
The Supreme Court that says, yep, they're born here, give them a passport. They're a U.S. citizen.
I'll take $10 on Prescott Bush when he started to import the upper echelon of the Third Reich under Operation Paperclip. Yeah, all right. But what's fascinating, too, when you look at what's been happening for these many years, and I think you and I have talked about it when I had you on before, the notion that states that are using just head counts for entitlements, for school payouts, declare themselves null and void of immigration law decades ago and call themselves sanctuary states. And the recourse was nothing. The recourse was that we just paid it. And it wasn't, this is not redistribution. You know that. We're unmoored from any financial reality. This is debt that's created to give the illusion of redistribution. That's the explosion since you were a congressman to now of $30 trillion on the debt. So you have the system that's not a flaw, it's a feature. And now we've known this. Yeah. It's out of the closet. And the Trump administration, in just a handful of months, has prosecuted and charged thousands of scoundrels who are both legal and illegal, temporary protected status. And I do think the other recourse we have is you can run on this now. You can dust off the shoes, come out of retirement, get the spikes clean, run out of retirement, and a whole group of Louie Gohmerts can now get elected to write law. Because the Supreme Court just made a judgment on this law. That doesn't mean we can't pass a new law, does it?
That's right. That is totally right. It is so right. But the things that Alito and Thomas point out, that we have made a grave error here. We've made a big mistake, and history will judge it as such. But if we don't do just what you're suggesting and get involved and start really reining in what we can, then history will look back and they'll say, well, good people in America got a real wake-up call on today, June 30th, 2026, and they sat back and said, you know what, I'm not happy with either party, and I'm not going to vote, and I'm not going to turn out. I'm not going to put up a good political fight to try to, fix things, and they lost the country. This is really an important day in history for our country.
But you've been through, like I said before, you've been through the worst of it as far as I'm concerned. This judgment, although terrible and truly terrible, it's not the equivalent, in my opinion, yet, although it plays into the part of Obamacare. But that was another abuse of the Supreme Court.
Terrible,
insanity,
terrible.
right? And it takes, look at insurance premiums. I mean, Louie, they don't talk about it. But
oh, my God.
91%
we knew
are
it was
subsidized.
coming, Shaun. You knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. This was not unexpected.
So in the division, look at what else has happened since then. People have come up with different ways, but the division is clear and stark. And we've been in a Cold War, and you've known this for years. So as these other states become populated with the wretched and the good states become populated with the decent, it explains 11 states make up 70% of our GDP. Aside from that, the states that are going bankrupt are the ones that are electing the socialists. However, if you look at what's happening in their markets, their real markets, between the businesses closing, the businesses leaving, the good people leaving, you've just got the guy from Google sold 5,900 apartments. I don't know if you saw this in Manhattan. 5,900. He had a real estate portfolio at 6 cents on the dollar. And you look at this. This is actually good for us because as the division happens, so will the representation follow. So the good people in the forefront of politics will be the Louie Gohmerts. They will be the Ron DeSantis. They will be the Donald Trumps. And you're eliminating that quasi-duopoly that you always fought, the systemic corruption of both parties. I think this is actually good.
Well, we're still fighting. Well, it is if people will wake up and do something. And that's why. And I've got a clarion call here. People, we can and we must rein in the wayward judges, and there's not that many of them, but there's only one thing that will rein them in, and that's Congress, and it won't be the Senate because they have to have 60 votes to subpoena them. I talked to Senator Grassley about it, but the House Judiciary or the House Oversight needs to subpoena the judges that are crippling President Trump and bring them in and question them about their bad behavior, because Article 3, Section 1, it doesn't say they have lifetime appointments. It doesn't say that they have to commit treason, bribery, crime, or misdemeanor. It says they only get to be a judge during their good behavior. And so the judiciary has not policed its ranks. They give slap on the hands if they do anything, and it's got to be Congress. They start by subpoenaing these judges and forcing them to come in and testify and put them on the hot seat. And then if the activity is bad enough, then you move forward with impeachment. And that's the way we finally rein in the unaccountable judges. Most of them, thank God, are okay, but those that are trying to destroy and take over executive and legislative, they got to be reined in, and this is the way to do it. And we've got a website where people can go in, and it's bad. Let's see, I've got it right here. Badjudges.org. Yeah, badjudges.org. They can sign the petition and let your member of Congress know. We want them subpoenaed and come in, put on the hot seat question.
Well, the other thing, too, to recognize is that during the years of the dimwit and diapers, I'm the most illegitimate president the country's ever had on a multitude of different levels. They packed those courts, right? 235 so-called judges, right, who are lawyers in costumes, as far as I can see. But, one of the things that people I don't think understand is to get a Supreme Court appointment. I've watched this my whole life in awe, really in awe. And I've been, what really changed my mind about the questioning the validity of our system is to watch Joe Biden interrogate Clarence Thomas during that hearing, but moreover, leak what was suspected to be a case with Anita Hill and that whole scam. That's Joe Biden, leaked all that. Yeah. When you trace back all of the scandals to keep off Clarence Thomas, and when you think about the Robert Bork situation, it's unbelievable what they did to that decent man. The system just feels filthy and dirty. So when you see these justices being put up, to me, they're not judges because they're scholars of the law. They're judges because they're connected to the political mafia. Now, you lived in it. Am I being too pessimistic on how exactly you even become a Supreme Court justice or a federal judge? Well, to me, it's Chicago times 10.
Most of them have lived pretty cleanly, and it's in our recent history, most of them, they're A+ rated. The American Bar Association has gone so far to the left, though. I think President Trump did a good thing in saying we're not going to care about the ABA ratings anymore. But if you look at what happened to Amy Coney Barrett, and you look at the way they came after Kavanaugh, Shaun, I was saying at the time, look, their goal here is they're shooting for one of two things. Hopefully they create enough fear in these two people or raise enough cane that senators say, oh, I don't feel comfortable voting for them, and they stop good people from going forward. That's one possibility. And the other possibility, if that doesn't work, they hope to intimidate them enough so that when they get on the bench, they have this tendency to think, because everybody wants to be liked to some extent, that they think, all these leftists, they came after me so strong, I'm going to show them that they were wrong about me. I'm going to rule, and they're going to see I'm I rule with them, and then they're going to actually be glad I'm on the bench.
Well, their kids go to school with each other.
Some of that with Amy Coney Barrett. I think we're seeing it with her and some of her rulings. She's showing them, look, see, you were so against me and thought I was going to be terrible. Look how good I've been.
Well, yes, and it's a big cover-up, too, right? I mean, you look at Catholic Charities, that's a human trafficking ring right there, and she just covered it up and squashes it all and puts the shield of virtue and the protection of law to the atrocity that they've been perpetrating for decades. So there's a lot of moving parts, and their kids go to school together. They all play together. They all know where each other lives. Do you remember when they were threatening I forget which, I think it was Roberts, if I'm not mistaken, and Barrett, and anybody after the Dobbs decision. So there is that intimidation factor, which is the most anti-American thing you could think of. And you look at the judges that they love. Boasberg, the daughter, worked for Kamala Harris. How about Ferret-Face Garland from Chicago, who married the Supreme Court of New York, that justice's daughter, $44 million, and nobody can explain it. So that's my fear, is the systemic corruption. So I think it's time for us to challenge some of the legacy entitlements. And I'd like to challenge all of it. I want to start with Social Security. You know and I know there is no account. They run the whole fracking government out of a checkbook like some ghetto reverend running a tavern. So what we need to do is be offensive and start to challenge these traditional forms of communism and socialism. I want to challenge Social Security. I don't want the scam. Give me my money back. How many of my fellow Americans do I need for a class action?
Yep. Well, when you say we need to be offensive, let me tell you, I had lots of people telling me while I was in Congress, I was very offensive. I was constantly offensive.
That's why I love you. Yeah, I love you for it. You never relented. And, it's funny. How do you see the race in Texas? This is a big race. Paxson this is a big deal. How do you see it?
It's going to be very, very close. I had some serious issues with Ken Paxton. He has done a lot of great conservative cases for Texas and for America. But holy cow, it's Tallarico, man.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it?
Gee, holy cow.
Yeah, you call him Side Saddle in Texas? Is that his nickname?
You know the kind of the damage, but everybody says he's just such a nice guy. Yeah, well, that's a problem. So,
all right. Listen, Louie, I got a condo right on the floor of my floor. You come and live with me. We'll take care of everything. You get over here. Things go sideways, all right?
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you for making time. I really appreciate it.
I love talking to you. You bet. Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you, my friend. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
This is the Shaun Thompson Show on